The night of my parents' anniversary. The belt didn't just strike my skin, it struck every year I'd served. And I understood this battle wasn't on the front lines anymore. My cousins held their breath while Dad looked straight through me. Soldiers don't cry. I didn't cry, I planned. Have you ever watched your family turn you invisible? Stay till the end, because when I struck back, the whole city heard the explosion. My name is Harper Quinn, and after 6 years coordinating supply chains for the Atlantic Logistics Command, I could predict failure patterns in any system except my own family. The anniversary dinner at Holloway's on the river should have been perfect. 25 years of marriage deserved the mahogany panels and crystal chandeliers, the kind of place where waiters memorized your name after 2 visits. The ribeye bled perfectly onto bone china, and the wine cost more than my monthly grocery budget. I sat between Aunt Margaret's suffocating perfume and Cousin Derek's cologne, watching my sister Lila command the table like she commanded every room with calculated charm and strategic laughter. The water filtration project in Millbrook just cleared final inspection, I said during a lull, keeping my voice steady. Professional. We're bringing clean water to 3,000 households that have been on boil notices for 18 months. Lila's fork paused mid-air, her smile sharp as winter glass. That's nice. Harper. Speaking of achievements, she pivoted with practiced ease. Our new luxury watch campaign just landed Brennan Industries. 6-figure contract, exclusive rights. The table erupted. Dad's hand found Lila's shoulder. Mom's eyes glistened with pride, and the cousins leaned in like she'd announced the cure for cancer. The leather beneath my palms felt suddenly slick. Quinn's Outfitters needs a new strategy. I tried again when the congratulations died down. The vintage military surplus market is shifting. I've run the numbers with proper supply chain management. We could turn the losses around in 2 quarters. Let's not bring logistics to the party. Lila's voice dripped honey over poison. Some of us understand that business is about vision, not spreadsheets. Aunt Margaret tittered. Uncle Paul chuckled. The cousins exchanged glances that said everything. Then Dad stood, raising his glass, and the room fell silent. His eyes found mine across the candlelight, and for a moment, I hoped he might acknowledge the $4,500 I'd sent home over 6 years, the consultations I'd provided for free, the nights I'd spent reviewing his inventory systems from my quarters at Fort Ashland. Instead, he whispered, loud enough for the entire table to hear, I wish we only had Lila as our daughter. The words hit harder than any IED assessment I'd ever filed. The room blurred at the edges, but my training kicked in maintain composure, assess, respond. I pushed back my chair, the scrape against hardwood cutting through the silence. We need to talk, I said. Privately. The private dining room smelled like old cigars and disappointment. Dad closed the door behind us, Mom flanking him like she always did. Silent support for whatever came next. You embarrassed us, he said, loosening his tie. Again. I offered help. Actual, quantifiable help. You offered criticism. His hands moved to his belt, a gesture so familiar from childhood that my body tensed before my mind caught up. Maybe you've forgotten how this family works. Thomas, Mom said softly, but she didn't move. Didn't intervene. She never did. The leather sang as it cleared the loops. At 32, with 6 years of military service, 3 commendations, and a security clearance that let me move millions in government resources, I stood there while my father raised his belt. The first strike caught my shoulder. The second, my raised arm. By the third, I heard the door crack open, Lila's phone catching just enough, her finger quick on the button before she disappeared. Evidence, I realized, not of abuse, but of me losing control, causing a scene, proving what they'd always said about soldiers coming home damaged. Soldiers don't cry, Dad said, coiling the belt back through his loops with practiced efficiency. I didn't cry. I straightened my blazer, checked my phone 7:43 p.m., and walked out. Through the main dining room where the cousins pretended not to stare, past the hostess who'd complimented my service pin an hour earlier, into the parking lot where November air bit through my jacket like truth through delusion. My phone buzzed. The family group chat, lighting up like a battlefield. Lila, so sorry everyone had to witness that. We're all praying Harper gets the help she needs. Aunt Margaret, PTSD is serious. No shame in admitting you need support, dear. Derek, my buddy went through something similar after his deployment. I sat in my car, engine off, watching their messages pile up like ammunition. Each ding another round, another confirmation that this wasn't misunderstanding or miscommunication. This was doctrine, family doctrine, where Lila was the asset and I was the liability. I opened a new note on my phone, typing with the same precision I used for mission reports. Phase 1 intelligence gathering. Phase 2 resource denial. Phase 3 public accountability. The dashboard clock glowed 8:15 p.m. The war had started at 7:43. They wanted a damaged soldier. They were about to learn what 6 years of strategic planning could do when turned against the enemy. Even when the enemy shared your blood, especially then. The Route 39 motel smelled like industrial bleach and abandoned hope. Fluorescent bulbs hummed their sick yellow light across water-stained ceiling tiles while I sat cross-legged on the polyester bedspread, laptop heating my thighs, external hard drive spinning up its 20-year archive of truth. Quinn Archives, I'd named it years ago, thinking I was preserving memories. Now I understood I'd been documenting evidence. Christmas 2010 loaded first. There was 8-year-old Lila, centered in frame wearing the cashmere sweater from Grandma Lydia, surrounded by torn wrapping paper that caught the tree lights like scattered stars. And there, barely visible in the corner my shoulder, my hand, holding the camera. Always holding the camera. Never in the shot. I scrolled forward. 4th of July, 2015. Lila's college acceptance party, her face glowing as Dad raised a toast. The metadata showed I'd taken 43 photos that day. I appeared in exactly none. Birthday dinner, 2018. Lila's promotion celebration at the exact same Holloways on the river. The receipt I'd saved showed my credit card, but the Facebook posts Mom shared credited Lila with treating the family. My phone buzzed 2:17 a.m. Another family chat message I didn't open. Instead, I pulled up 6 years of bank statements, the numbers telling their own story in sterile black and white. $450, transferred monthly like clockwork to Quinn's Outfitters business account. $27,000 total, annotated in my careful notes, family support store recovery. Yet Mom's Facebook post from last month. So blessed our Lila helps keep the family business afloat. Her marketing expertise and generous support mean everything. Proud parents, Jal, business savvy. The Excel sheet I'd built back at Fort Ashland opened next to my proposed supply chain optimization for the store. 17 pages of analysis, vendor negotiations with Tennessee Rail and Canvas, projected savings of 30% on inventory costs. Date sent January this year. Dad's response. Thanks. We'll think about it. Lila's press release 2 weeks later. Local marketing expert Lila Quinn revitalizes family legacy business. I opened a new browser tab, fingers steady as I typed. Quinn's Outfitters business registration appeared on the state website. Then the tax records. Public and damning. The store had reported losses for 5 straight years. Yet somehow, Lila's LinkedIn showed her as Strategic Consultant Quinn Enterprises, with a salary that would make my military pay look like pocket change. 341 a.m. The parking lot security light flickered through thin curtains, casting prison bar shadows across my research. I found the bitter photo from Dad's 60th birthday. The Gerber tactical knife I'd saved 4 months for, specially engraved, "For the man who taught me strength." It sat unopened on the gift table while Dad held up Lila's watercolor painting a child's rushed attempt at his portrait, all wrong proportions and muddy colors. The painting now hung framed in his office. The knife, I'd later discovered, lived in the garage's junk drawer, still in its presentation box, engraving unread. My throat tightened, but I transformed the emotion into data, into intelligence. This wasn't about hurt feelings. This was about patterns, systematic devaluation, financial exploitation wrapped in family doctrine. The hard drive yielded more. Email threads where I'd offered to connect the store with military surplus contractors I knew from ALC. Dad's replies grew shorter each time until they stopped altogether. Meanwhile, Lila's Instagram showed her at business strategy sessions at the store, posed with spreadsheets she'd never understood, wearing designer clothes bought with consultation fees pulled from the business account my transfers kept afloat. I created a new folder, Operation Truth Doctrine. Subfolders materialized with military precision, financial evidence, social media contradictions, business records, timeline of systematic exclusion. 458A, Dawn threatened the horizon like a bruise spreading purple-black. I'd found the pattern, clear as supply route vulnerabilities in hostile territory. This wasn't neglect or favoritism. This was economic parasitism dressed as family values. They'd cast me as the distant, damaged soldier while feeding off my resources, my expertise, my misguided loyalty to blood that saw me as nothing more than a supply line. The final document made me close my laptop. A text exchange from 3 months ago. Me, the store's lease renewal is coming up. I can help negotiate. Dad, Lila's handling it. Me, but I have experience with commercial contracts through ALC. Dad, we need family unity, not military thinking. Know your place? Know your place. The words sat in my chest like shrapnel, sharp and poisonous. I stood, stretching muscles cramped from hours of hunching over evidence. The motel mirror reflected a soldier's posture, straight-backed despite exhaustion. They wanted me to know my place. Fine. My place was no longer beneath their boots, no longer the invisible foundation they stood on while praising Lila's empty achievements. I opened my phone, ignoring the 73 family chat messages, and typed a new note. Mission Directive Phase Y complete. Intelligence gathered. Pattern confirmed. Family doctrine identified. Lila, our asset. Harper, our resource to be drained. Phase 2 initiates at 0800 hours. Complete resource denial. Cut financial pipeline. Eliminate advisory support. Close all channels. They thought soldiers didn't cry. They were right. Soldiers didn't cry. Soldiers strategized. Soldiers executed. Soldiers won. 0800 hours. I sat in the motel's cracked vinyl chair, phone in one hand, laptop open to my bank's website. Outside, morning traffic on Route 39 hummed its working-class symphony while I dismantled 6 years of financial architecture. The recurring transfer cancellation took 30 seconds, $450 that would no longer flow into Quinn's outfitter's dying veins. The confirmation email arrived instantly. Your automatic payment has been terminated effective immediately. Next, the cloud drive labeled QO Revive. 17 gigabytes of supply chain optimization, vendor contracts, inventory management systems, seasonal procurement strategies. My finger hovered over the delete button for exactly 1 heartbeat, the same hesitation before greenlighting a supply convoy through hostile territory. Then, gone. Permanently deleted. No recovery possible. The Tennessee Rail and Canvas contact Mitchell Barnes, who'd offered a 40% discount on military surplus based solely on my ALC reputation, deleted from my phone. The spreadsheet comparing wholesale distributors across 3 states deleted. The draft proposal for converting Quinn's Outfitters into an e-commerce operation deleted. My phone rang. Dad. I let it ring out while typing my final message to the family chat. Effective 0800 hours today, terminating all financial support and business consultation for Quinn's Outfitters. This is not a negotiation. Major Quinn, Harper J., Atlantic Logistics Command. The formal signature was deliberate. They wanted to pretend I was just the damaged daughter I'd remind them exactly what credentials they'd been exploiting. 912A AIM. The family chat exploded like an ammunition depot taking a direct hit. Mom. Harper, sweetie. You're not thinking clearly. Please call us. Aunt Margaret. This is what PTSD does. My friend's son went through the same thing after Afghanistan. Uncle Paul. Taking it out on family is a cry for help. Then Lila, always the strategist, went public. Her Facebook post appeared at 9:37 a.m. Carefully crafted. Sometimes the hardest thing is watching someone you love struggle with invisible wounds. Military service leaves scars we can't always see. Our family is committed to supporting Harper through this difficult time, even when her pain manifests as anger toward those who love her most. If you're a veteran struggling with readjustment, please know you're not alone. Mental health, awareness, invisible wounds, family first. She'd attached a link to an article about PTSD and family relationships. Within minutes, comments poured in sympathy for Lila's burden, praise for her compassion, suggestions for veterans' mental health resources. I screenshot everything, adding it to my evidence folder. Let her build her narrative. I was building something else entirely. 10:15 a.m. Derek, the cousin who'd barely acknowledged my existence at family gatherings, texted privately, "Hey, I know things are rough. My buddy Steve went through this after his third tour. The VA has programs." I responded, "My mental health is excellent. My financial boundaries are now also excellent. Please direct any concerns to Major Harper Quinn's commanding officer at Fort Ashland, who can verify my latest psychological evaluation scored in the 98th percentile. 11:43 a.m. Dad again. This time voice message. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Family is everything. When the military's done with you, who'll be there? Think about what you're throwing away." I thought about the belt singing through air 8 hours ago, about $27,000 absorbed without acknowledgement, about every photo where I held the camera instead of appearing in frame. What exactly was I throwing away? Lila escalated at 12:21 p.m. A private message dripping calculated concern. "Harper, I know you're hurting. What happened at dinner wasn't right. I tried to stop Dad, you know that. But cutting off the family. The store will go under without your help. Is that what you want to destroy Mom and Dad's legacy out of spite? This isn't you. This is your trauma talking. Let me help you find someone to talk to." I stared at her words. Particularly, I tried to stop Dad. The video she'd taken just enough to look like I was the aggressor when edited right suggested otherwise. My reply was military brief. Acknowledged, no further assistance required or forthcoming. 1:37 p.m. She fired her final shot. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Harper, when you're alone and bitter, remember you chose this." I typed back, "Roger that. Mission proceeding as planned." The relatives kept coming. Texts, calls, Facebook messages, even an email from a second cousin I hadn't heard from in 3 years. The narrative was unanimous, poor Lila, dealing with her sister's military-induced mental breakdown. Poor family, trying to love someone too damaged to accept it. By 3 p.m., I'd blocked 17 phone numbers and unfollowed every family member on social media. But I didn't delete them. I archived everything. Every message, every post, every comment painting me as the unstable veteran lashing out at innocent family members who just wanted to help. 4:28 p.m. I sat in that motel room, surrounded by the silence I'd created, and felt something I hadn't expected: clarity. Pure, crystalline clarity. Like the moment when supply routes suddenly make sense on a tactical map. They'd shown their hand, revealed their strategy. The PTSD narrative was their weapon. Lila, their general. Public sympathy, their ammunition. They thought they were fighting a damaged soldier having a breakdown. They didn't realize they were facing a logistics officer who'd kept entire battalions supplied in combat zones, someone trained to see 3 moves ahead, to anticipate enemy tactics, to turn their strengths into vulnerabilities. I opened a new document, Phase 3 Battlefield Selection. Because if they wanted to make this public, to drag my service and mental health into their narrative, then I'd choose exactly where this war would be fought. Not on Facebook, not in family group chats, in courtrooms, in public records, in newspaper articles about misappropriated family trust funds. My phone buzzed one last time. Lila. Everyone knows you're sick, Harper. Everyone sees it but you. I smiled, cold as January wind off Lake Michigan, and typed negative. Everyone sees what you've shown them. Time they saw what I can show them. Stand by for phase 3. The typing dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again, then nothing. Silence. The first victory in a war they didn't yet understand they'd already lost. The text from Maya Rourke came at 6:42 p.m. Saw Lila's posts, loading care package. What's your 20 within an hour? She stood at my motel room door, still in her ALC uniform, holding a plastic container that smelled like chocolate chip cookies and carrying the weight of understanding in her eyes. I've got your 6, she said, setting the container on the nightstand. No questions about the family drama, no probing for details. Just presence, solid as a supply convoy arriving exactly when needed. Inside the container, beneath the cookies. A handwritten note. Logistics of the heart are harder than any supply chain, but you've never failed a mission. Owen Hale's call came the next morning. The civilian contractor's voice carried that particular mix of professional respect and personal concern I'd earned the day I'd saved his transformer shipment from bureaucratic limbo. Harper. I heard well. I saw online. He paused, regrouping. Remember when you orchestrated that emergency rerouting for the transformer substations, called it conducting a symphony in a hurricane? Maybe you need someone to help conduct this one. This isn't your fight. Owen, with respect, Major, you've made my fights yours more than once. The offer stands. But the call that shifted everything came at 3:15 p.m. The number showed Sunridge Haven, and my grandmother's voice crackled through. 85 years of wisdom compressed into digital signal. Harper Jean Quinn, Lydia Harper said, using my full name like she always did when cutting through nonsense. I've been watching Lila's little social media campaign. Grandma, don't grandma me. I was stitching up Marines before your parents were born. I know PTSD, and I know manipulation. That girl's got the whole town thinking you're Section 8. Through the video call, I could see her in her room at the assisted living facility, still sharp as surgical steel despite her age. Behind her, the wall displayed her service medals from Korea, when nurses saw more blood than most soldiers. They're saying I'm unstable, that I'm lashing out because of trauma. Horse shit. The profanity cracked like a whip. You're the most stable Quinn in 3 generations. Your father came from my body, but he's got your grandfather's weak spine. Always did prefer the easy child to the strong one. Lila's destroying my reputation. Then stop defending the foxhole they already took. Her eyes, clouded with cataracts but clear with purpose, fixed on mine through the screen. You're fighting where they want you to fight. Time to choose your own battlefield. What do you mean? She leaned forward, and for a moment I saw the woman who'd kept field hospitals running under artillery fire, the Quinn Family Trust. The one I set up before your grandfather died, 23 years ago, with specific provisions for education and community service. Your father's been dipping into it, hasn't he? My silence was confirmation enough. Thought so. Been watching the store's reviews online, boys bleeding money, but somehow Lila's living high. That money has conditions. Harper. Legal ones. And if they've been violating them, I'd need proof. Documentation. Then get it. Stop playing defense. Stop letting that little manipulator control the narrative with her wellness warrior act. You want to know why I put those provisions in the trust? Because I knew. I knew your father would favor flash over substance, knew he'd need guardrails. Those provisions aren't just suggestions, they're legally binding. She paused, coughing slightly, then continued with steel in her voice. Don't die on worthless ground. Harper, choose terrain that matters. The truth about that trust, about where the money's really gone, that's your high ground. After the call ended, I sat in the growing darkness of the motel room, puzzle pieces clicking together with the precision of supply routes finally making sense. The trust. Of course. Grandma had always been 3 steps ahead, even back then. Owen texted at 7:21 p.m. My company has a forensic accountant. Discreet. If you need documentation reviewed. Maya followed at 7:45 p.m. Legal services through ALC. You've earned them. Just say when. Even my commanding officer, Colonel Rodriguez, reached out a brief email to my military account. Major Quinn, your service record speaks for itself. If you need a statement regarding your mental fitness for any legal proceedings, you have it. They were forming ranks around me. These people who'd seen my actual worth, not the version my family had constructed. Each offer of help was a confirmation. The problem had never been me. By 9 p.m., I'd made my decision. I texted Maya and Owen in a group message. Phase 3 initiating. Target Quinn Family Trust documentation and fund dispensation records. Mission full financial transparency via legal channels. Owen responded immediately. Forensic accountant available Monday, 0900. Maya, legal counsel secured, pro bono. They love a good trust fund violation case. I looked at Lila's latest Instagram post, her at some charity gala. Caption reading, supporting mental health awareness in honor of family members struggling with invisible wounds. Blessed Hoster family. Mental health matters. She thought she was winning. Thought she'd successfully painted me as the damaged soldier everyone should pity and dismiss. She had no idea she'd just motivated an entire unit of people who'd seen me under actual pressure, who knew exactly what I was capable of when I chose my battlefield. I opened my laptop and began typing, Request for Public Records Quinn Family Trust, established 2001. Request includes all dispensations, trustee decisions, and advisory fee payments, particularly those designated to consultation services from 2018 present. The motel's fluorescent light hummed above me as I worked, but now it didn't feel oppressive. It felt like mission lighting, like the harsh illumination needed to see the tactical map clearly. Grandma was right. I'd been defending worthless ground, letting them choose the terrain. But now I was going to drag this fight exactly where Lila's social media spin couldn't protect them into legal documentation, financial forensics, and the kind of truth that came with court stamps and official seals. My phone buzzed. Lila again. Harper, this is getting out of hand. Let's talk. As sisters. I typed back, negative. Preparing for different kind of engagement. Recommend you retain counsel. The typing dots appeared and stayed there for a full 3 minutes. Then disappeared. Then came back with, what are you talking about? Stand by for Phase 3 implementation. ETA 72 hours. This time, the silence that followed felt different. Not like victory not yet, but like the moment when enemy forces realized the supply convoy they thought was retreating had actually been circling around to flank them, like the moment they realized they'd underestimated their target, like the moment the real battle was about to begin. The Riverton City Hall smelled like old paper and floor wax, that particular government building scent that meant official records and uncomfortable truths. I stood at the public records desk at 9:05 a.m. Maya beside me in civilian clothes but maintaining military bearing, while the clerk pulled file after file. Quinn Family Trust, established April 2001. The clerk read, adjusting her glasses. You're listed as a beneficiary, so you have full access rights. The conference room they gave us had water-stained ceiling tiles and a window overlooking the parking lot. We spread the documents across the scarred wooden table like battle plans, and within minutes, the pattern emerged clear as blood on snow. Jesus Christ, Maya whispered, finger tracking down a column of numbers. Look at these withdrawals. The trust provisions were explicit. Grandma's foresight preserved in legal language, funds to be used exclusively for education, healthcare, and community service initiatives. No funds shall be used for private business operations or to offset business losses. Yet there it was, in black and white regular withdrawals starting in 2019, accelerating in 2023. $40,000 transferred to Quinn's Outfitters operating account. Another $15,000 labeled consultation fees paid to Lila Quinn Marketing LLC, a company that, according to state records, consisted solely of Lila and a website. This signature, I pointed to the authorization forms. That's Dad's. As primary trustee, he authorized every one of these. Owen arrived at 10:30 a.m. with his forensic accountant, a woman named Janet Chen, who looked like someone's grandmother until she opened her laptop and became a financial predator. "This is embezzlement," Janet said after 20 minutes of review. "Clear violation of fiduciary duty. The trust explicitly prohibits using funds for private business support. Yet here," she pulled up her screen, "we have systematic transfers to cover Quinn's Outfitters' losses. And these consultation fees paid to a beneficiary for services to the trust itself, that's self-dealing. Illegal." The next discovery hit harder. Riverton Heritage Bank, 2 blocks over, where a sympathetic manager recognized my military ID and pulled the loan documents. Quinn's Outfitters had been mortgaged twice, the second loan using the Quinn Family Trust as collateral guarantee, something explicitly forbidden in the trust's charter. "If the trust has been compromised," the manager said carefully, "that guarantee would be void. The bank would have to call the loan, resulting in immediate foreclosure proceedings. The business would have 90 days to pay in full or face liquidation." 11:45 a.m. More evidence surfaced. The warning letters from the bank, dated 3 months ago, 2 months ago, last week. Each one more urgent. Each one ignored while Mom posted Facebook photos from their anniversary dinner at Holloway's, while Lila uploaded stories from shopping trips funded by illegal consultation fees. "Harper." Owen held up his phone, showing a business filing. "Lila registered as a trust advisor last year. She's been drawing $36,000 annually in advisory fees from a trust she's also a beneficiary of." The rage I'd expected didn't come. Instead, something colder, more precise. This wasn't just favoritism or family dysfunction. This was systematic fraud, documented and notarized. Aaron Vale, the public interest attorney Maya had contacted, arrived at 1:15 p.m., reviewed everything in 30 minutes, and sat back with the expression of someone who'd just been handed a gift-wrapped case. "This is actionable. Multiple violations. We can file for immediate injunction to freeze the trust assets, demand full accounting, and pursue recovery of misappropriated funds. The self-dealing alone could result in removal of your father as trustee and personal liability for all illegally transferred funds." "I want more than that," I said. "I want public transparency. This affects community funds Grandma meant for this money to help people, not prop up a failing business." Aaron smiled, sharp as winter. "Public hearing, we can request one. Family trust disputes are usually private, but given the alleged fraud and the trust's community service provisions, we can argue for public interest. Local newspaper would probably cover it." "Do it." By 3 p.m., we had everything: 8 years of bank statements showing my contributions, 3 years of illegal withdrawals from the trust, Lila's advisory fees that violated self-dealing statutes, the mortgage documents using void collateral, warning letters about imminent foreclosure. The court filing was submitted at 4:21 p.m. The request for public hearing approved within an hour. Judge Morrison remembered Grandma Lydia from her nursing days, remembered the trust's original intent. My phone exploded at 5:37 p.m. "Dad, first, what have you done?" Then Mom, "Harper, we just got served papers. This is insane." "Lila, you're destroying our family over petty jealousy. Everyone sees what you're doing." I responded to all 3 with the same message. Subpoena served, public hearing scheduled for Thursday, 2 p.m., Riverton Public Library. Failure to appear will result in default judgment. Bring all financial records for Quinn's Outfitters and Quinn Family Trust. 2018 present. Lila tried calling 17 times. Then came her text at 8:43 p.m. "You have no idea what you're starting. I'll bury you. Everyone already thinks you're crazy. This just proves it." I forwarded her message to Aaron with a note. Please add to evidence file under attempted intimidation of plaintiff. Owen and Maya met me for dinner at a diner near the motel, the kind where coffee came in heavy white mugs and the pie was homemade. We didn't talk about the case. Didn't need to. But as we were leaving, Owen said quietly, my company wants to sponsor something. If a new community fund gets established, a legitimate one, we'd put in seed money. Mine too, Maya added. ALC has a veteran support budget. If someone were to create, say, a fund for women service members transitioning to civilian life. I looked at them both. These people who'd shown up without being asked, who'd seen through Lila's narrative without explanation. Why? Because, Maya said, we've seen you under actual pressure. She gestured toward my phone, still lighting up with family messages. This isn't pressure. This is just long overdue correction. That night, alone in the motel, I pulled up the trust documents one more time, Grandma's signature at the bottom, her provision clear, for the betterment of community and family, in that order. She'd known. Somehow. She'd known it might come to this. And she'd given me the weapons to fight back, hidden in subclauses and legal language, waiting for someone to care enough to look. The hearing was in 48 hours. They thought they were coming to a family mediation. They had no idea they were walking into a court-documented exposure of every financial lie they'd told, every dollar they'd stolen, every year they'd pretended Lila's success while hiding my support. My phone lit up one more time. Dad, you're dead to us if you go through with this. I typed back, already was, Thursday, 2 p.m., bring receipts. Then I turned off the phone, opened my laptop, and began preparing the presentation that would dismantle their fiction in front of the entire town. Slide by slide, document by document, truth by brutal truth. They wanted to call me unstable damaged. Let them. The evidence would speak louder than their narrative ever could. The Riverton Public Library's community hall smelled of lemon polish and old books, afternoon sun streaming through tall windows onto rows of folding chairs. By 1:45 p.m., every seat was filled. The Riverton Ledger had sent their senior reporter. A court stenographer sat ready, fingers poised over her machine. I stood at the presenter's table, my evidence arranged with military precision projector connected, documents tabbed, timeline printed. Maya sat in the front row, Owen beside her. Aaron Vale checked her notes one final time while the bank representative took his position near the wall. At 1:58 p.m., they arrived, Dad in his best suit, the one he wore to church, Mom clutching her purse like armor, Lila in designer sunglasses she didn't remove, even indoors, her phone already recording. This is harassment, Lila announced to the room, ensuring her phone caught every word. My sister is experiencing a mental health crisis, and instead of getting help, she's attacking her own family. Judge Morrison, 73 and sharp as fresh-cut paper, didn't look up from his documents. Ms. Quinn, please be seated. This is a formal hearing, not a press conference. You may record for personal use, but any disruption will result in removal. Exactly. I began. Slide 1. The projector displayed the Quinn Family Trust Charter. Established April 2001 by Lydia Harper Quinn. Purpose education, healthcare, and community service. Explicitly prohibits use for private business operations. Click. Slide 2. Withdrawals from the trust, 2019 to present. The numbers appeared in damning columns. $40,000 to Quinn's Outfitters. $15,000 to Lila Quinn Marketing LLC for consultation services. Those were legitimate? Dad started. You'll have your opportunity to respond. Judge Morrison cut him off. Click. Slide 3. This is the signature authorizing these withdrawals. Dad's signature, magnified on the wall. As trustee, Thomas Quinn authorized transfers that violate the trust's core provisions. Aaron took over, her voice surgical. State law regarding fiduciary duty is clear. A trustee cannot use trust funds for personal business interests. Furthermore, Paying consultation fees to a beneficiary that's self-dealing, prohibited under Section 15.5.410. The bank representative stood. Riverton Heritage Bank must inform the court that Quinn's Outfitters used the Quinn Family Trust as collateral for a second mortgage. If the trust was compromised through illegal withdrawals, that collateral is void. The bank will initiate immediate foreclosure proceedings. Mom gasped. Several audience members leaned forward. The reporter's pen flew across her notepad. Lila stood, her voice pitched for maximum sympathy. This is what PTSD does. It makes people paranoid, vindictive. Harper needs help, not enablement of her delusions. I clicked to the next slide. These are my bank statements. 6 years, $450 monthly to Quinn's Outfitters. Total $27,000. Click. These are social media posts crediting Lila with supporting the family business during the same period. Click. This is Lila's registration as a trust advisor, filed last year. This is her taking $36,000 in advisory fees from a trust she also benefits from textbook self-dealing. You're twisting everything. Lila's composure cracked. Those fees were for legitimate work. What work? Aaron interrupted. Present one document, one report, one tangible piece of advisory work you performed for those fees. Silence. Even Lila's phone seemed to hold its breath. Judge Morrison spoke. Ms. Lila Quinn, do you have documentation of services rendered for these advisory fees? My work was strategic consultation. Documentation, Ms. Quinn? I don't have it with me. Then it doesn't exist for purposes of this hearing. I clicked again. The screen showed an email from Dad to me, dated January. Thanks for the supply chain analysis. We'll think about it. Next to it, Lila's press release 2 weeks later claiming credit for revitalizing the business. For 6 years, I said, voice steady as a mission briefing. I provided financial support, professional consultation, and strategic planning, all uncredited. Meanwhile, trust funds meant for community service were diverted to cover business losses and pay illegal advisory fees. Dad finally exploded. You abandoned this family. You chose the military over us. I chose to serve, I replied, and continued serving this family with $27,000 and hundreds of hours of unpaid consultation while being systematically erased from its narrative. The stenographer's keys clattered. The reporter wrote furiously. In the audience, I caught sight of 3 city council members, 2 local business owners, and the president of the Riverton Women's Business Association. Aaron presented the final evidence. Your Honor, we request immediate injunction, freezing remaining trust assets, full forensic accounting of all transactions since 2018 recovery of misappropriated funds, and establishment of new trust management under court supervision. But I wasn't done. Your Honor, may I address the room? He nodded. I turned to face the audience, found the reporter's eyes. I'm establishing the Riverton Women in Service Fund. Initial funding comes from my personal savings, with matching commitments from Atlantic Logistics Command and Hale Engineering. I saw Owen nod. This fund will provide microloans and scholarships to female veterans in Riverton, what the Quinn Family Trust was supposed to do before it became a personal piggy bank. This is grandstanding, Lila started. This is accountability. I cut her off. Every dollar will be publicly tracked, every recipient publicly acknowledged. The opposite of what happened here. Judge Morrison raised his hand for silence. I've heard enough for preliminary findings. Based on evidence presented, I'm granting immediate injunction freezing Quinn Family Trust assets pending full forensic audit. Thomas Quinn is temporarily removed as trustee. The court will appoint an independent administrator. He looked at Lila. Ms. Quinn, you have 30 days to repay all advisory fees or face civil fraud charges. Then to my parents, Quinn's Outfitters has 90 days to repay the $40,000 illegally transferred from the trust. Failure to do so will result in personal liability. But the business will fail, Mom's voice cracked. The business, Judge Morrison said quietly, has been failing for years, propped up by stolen funds and hidden subsidies. That ends today. The gavel came down at 3:17 p.m. The sound echoed through the room like a rifle shot, like finality, like justice. As people filed out, the reporter approached me. "Major Quinn, any comment for the record?" I looked at my family, huddled together in their shattered fiction. Lila's phone finally lowered, recording nothing but defeat. "Yes," I said. "My grandmother established that trust to serve this community. Starting today, it will. And for anyone who thinks speaking truth about financial fraud is a symptom of PTSD, I looked directly at Lila. My mental health evaluation is public record. 98th percentile. Turns out, demanding accountability isn't a disorder. It's a duty." The stenographer typed the final words. "Hearing concluded. 3:21 p.m. Ruling in favor of plaintiff." 48 hours after the hearing, Riverton Heritage Bank posted the notice on Quinn's outfitter's door. "Foreclosure property auction, November 15th, 10:00 a.m. The yellow paper looked like a surrender flag against the faded wood. The Riverton Ledger ran the story on page 1, "Local Business Faces Liquidation After Trust Fund Scandal." Below the headline, a photo of the store's cluttered interior, mannequins in old military surplus standing like abandoned soldiers. The morning of November 15th came sharp and cold. I arrived at 9:45 a.m. Boots clicking against concrete worn smooth by 40 years of customers who'd stopped coming. The auction drew a crowd, some for bargains, most for spectacle. Small-town scandal, served fresh with coffee from the cart someone had enterprisingly set up outside. Inside, everything was tagged with lot numbers. The wooden shelves Grandpa Quinn built by hand, Lot 47. The brass cash register from 1985, Lot 12. Box after box of military surplus that Dad never learned to properly market, Lot 78, 134. I walked through it all, each step echoing in the empty space, my breath visible in the unheated air that smelled of dust and failed dreams. My fingers traced the counter where I'd stood as a child, helping Dad count inventory while Lila played with friends, where I'd offered expertise that was dismissed, where $27,000 had disappeared into silence. At 9:58 a.m., Lila arrived, designer coat, perfect makeup, but her hands shook as she approached me near the back wall. "You did this," she whispered, venom barely contained. "You destroyed everything." I pulled out my phone, showed her the court document. "No. This is the court order freezing your assets until you repay the $36,000 in illegal advisory fees. This is the forensic audit showing Dad transferred $40,000 from the trust. You destroyed everything. I just documented it. You'll ruin my career." "You ruined your career when you took money you didn't earn for work you didn't do." She stepped closer, breath hissing between perfect teeth. "You'll die alone. No family. No, I'd rather stand alone with truth than surrounded by lies." The auctioneer's voice boomed. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin shortly." Dad stood by the door, aged 10 years and 2 weeks, watching his father's business dissolve lot by lot. Mom clutched his arm, tears tracking through powder. They hadn't spoken to me since the hearing, but their eyes followed my every move like I was ordnance that might explode. 10 a.m. The auctioneer's hammer fell for the first time. Lot 1 vintage field jackets, opening bid $20. Each strike was a percussion, a rhythm of ending. The shelves went for $70 to an antique dealer, the register for $200 to a collector from Madison. The inventory years of my father's poor purchasing decisions sold for pennies on the dollar. Then came the moment that cracked something in my chest. Lot 47, a box of photographs from behind the counter. Family photos Dad had framed and displayed. The auctioneer opened bidding at $5. No one bid. No interest at $5. "These are vintage family photographs, folks." I raised my hand. $5. Dad's head snapped up. Our eyes met across the crowd. For a second, I saw something recognition, maybe, or regret. Then he looked away. Sold. $5 to number 38. At 11:15 a.m., during a break, the reporter from the Ledger caught up with me outside. Major Quinn, any thoughts watching your family's business being dismantled? I looked at the Quinn's Outfitter sign being unscrewed from the facade, each letter coming down like fallen soldiers. My family's business was dismantled years ago by mismanagement and fraud. Today's just the funeral. Your sister claims this was revenge for being excluded from the family. Check the forensic audit. Numbers don't lie, even when families do. She also claims you're suffering from PTSD. My psychological evaluation is public record, as ordered by Judge Morrison, 98th percentile. Meanwhile, my sister owes $36,000 in fraudulently obtained fees. Which one of us seems unstable? The crowd pressed back inside for the final lots. The building itself would be sold separately, the bank recovering what it could. As the last item, an old military surplus desk, sold for $40, Lila made her final approach. I'll tell everyone. I'll make sure the whole world knows what kind of person you are. I pulled out a document, handed it to her. This is a cease and desist order. Any defamatory statements about my mental health will result in a libel suit. Your previous statements are already documented. Aaron Vale is hoping you try something. Her face went white. Behind her, Mom started crying harder. The auctioneer's final words rang out, "That concludes the auction. Building will be cleared by 5 p.m. I walked to the auctioneer's table, collected my single lot, the box of family photos, and headed for the door. Each step felt like marching, measured and purposeful. The cold November air hit my face like clarity. Harper, Dad's voice, rough with something I couldn't identify. I turned. He stood in the doorway of what used to be Quinn's Outfitters, shoulders bent under weight that had nothing to do with age. Your grandmother would be proud, I finished. She'd be proud that someone finally stood up for what she intended, that someone finally said no to the taking, the lying, the erasure. You destroyed us. No, I refused to let you destroy me anymore. I looked one last time at the empty store, the yellow foreclosure notice fluttering in the wind like a flag of surrender. Then I announced, loud enough for the crowd and reporter to hear, the proceeds from today's auction, after bank obligations, will be directed to the Riverton Women in Service Fund. The first scholarship recipient is Bailey Ortiz, former staff sergeant, who starts nursing school in January. What Grandma Lydia wanted, community service and education finally happening. The reporter's camera clicked. The crowd murmured. Mom sobbed. I walked to my car, placed the box of photos in the back seat. I'd sort through them later. Keep the ones of Grandma. Donate the rest to the Historical Society. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. Watching the live stream. Proud of you. Another from Owen. Initial fund donation just processed. $50,000 from Hale Engineering. I sat in my car, engine off, watching the crowd disperse, watching my parents help Lila to her car, watching the end of everything they'd built on lies and my silence. The dashboard clock read 12:37 p.m. Mission complete. They'd wanted me to know my place. I'd found it, standing in truth while their kingdom of deception collapsed. The auctioneer's truck pulled away, leaving only empty windows reflecting November sky. Where Quinn's Outfitters once stood, there would soon be something else. Something honest, just like me. The parking lot emptied slowly, November wind pushing leaves across asphalt like scattered documents. I sat in my car, engine still off, watching the last stragglers leave the auction. The box of photos rested in my back seat, $5 for 40 years of memories, the only lot I'd wanted. Through the rearview mirror, I saw them, Mom helping Lila into her Mercedes, the one she'd bought with consultation fees. Dad standing by their old pickup, staring at the empty building like a general surveying a lost battlefield. For a moment, his hand rose toward me, a gesture started but not completed. Then he turned away. My phone buzzed. Maya, AO secured. SAO, Military Shorthand Area of Operations secured. She understood. This wasn't about destroying them. It was about securing my position, establishing my perimeter, defending my worth. Owen's message followed, "New training center for women veterans just approved city funding. Your testimony about the trust fund violations convinced 3 council members. The dedication plaque will read, funded by the Riverton Women in Service Fund." I started the engine, the rumble steady as my pulse. One last look at Quinn's Outfitters. No, at what used to be Quinn's Outfitters. By 5 p.m., it would be empty. By next month, something else. The cycle of commerce would continue, but the cycle of exploitation had ended. The drive back to the Route 39 motel took 12 minutes. I'd stay one more night, then return to Fort Ashland tomorrow, back to work that mattered, back to people who saw my value, back to a life where my contributions weren't erased. In the motel parking lot, I opened the box of photos. Most were what I'd expected posed holiday shots where I held the camera, birthday parties where I stood at the edges, family gatherings where Lila centered every frame. But at the bottom, wrapped in tissue paper, was one I'd never seen. Grandma Lydia and me, taken the month before she moved to Sunridge Haven. I was in my dress uniform, just promoted to captain. She wore her Korean War Service pins. We stood side by side, same straight posture, same direct gaze, same refusal to shrink. On the back, her handwriting, the 2 soldiers, the ones who know the cost. She'd known. Even then, she'd known what was coming, what I'd have to do. I pulled out my laptop, opened a blank document, and typed, "Mission Designation Operation Truth Doctrine Status. Complete objectives achieved, financial exploitation exposed and terminated. Fraudulent activities documented and prosecuted. Community funds redirected to intended purpose. Personal boundaries established and enforced. Family narrative corrected via public record casualties. None that weren't already dead. Lessons learned. Family is not blood. Family is recognition. Family is those who see you in the frame, not those who crop you out." 3:47 p.m. A knock at my door. I opened it to find Bailey Ortiz, the scholarship recipient, 26 years old, former staff sergeant, standing with the same military bearing that never quite leaves. "Major Quinn," she said, then caught herself. "I mean, Ms. Quinn." "Harper," I corrected. "I wanted to thank you. In person. The scholarship, it changes everything. I can start nursing school without loans, without," her voice caught, "without begging family who never understood why I left, why I served, why I can't just get over it and come back to being who they wanted." I recognized the weight in her words, the familiar burden of being unseen by those who should see you most clearly. "You earned it," I told her. "Your service, your grades, your application, all you. But you made it possible. You stood up to them, your own family. That took discipline." I finished. Not courage, not revenge, just discipline. Seeing what is, naming it truly, and responding accordingly. She nodded, understanding passing between us like a classified briefing, some intelligence only certain people could decode. After she left, I sat on the motel bed one last time, looking at the photo of Grandma and me. Tomorrow, I'd be back at Fort Ashland, back to coordinating supply chains that actually functioned, back to work that was seen and valued. The divorce from my family was final, settled in public record and private acceptance. My phone lit up with one last message. Not from family, they were done. We all knew that. From Grandma, sent through the Sunridge Haven messaging system, watched the live stream of the auction, saw you buy the photos, keep the one of us, burn the rest, or donate them, but don't carry what was never yours to hold. Proud of you. Soldier. Mission complete. I typed back, "Roger that. Mission complete." The sun set over Riverton, painting the sky the color of endings and beginnings. Somewhere in town, Lila was probably crafting her next social media narrative. Dad was probably sitting in silence. Mom was probably crying. And I was finally, completely free. I looked at my reflection in the blank TV screen's straight shoulders, clear eyes, No apology in my posture. They'd said soldiers don't cry. They were right. Soldiers don't cry. Soldiers complete the mission. And when the mission is surviving your own family's erasure, completing it looks like this standing alone in a cheap motel, holding one photo worth keeping, knowing that tomorrow you'll wake up without their weight on your chest, knowing that the opposite of family isn't loneliness, it's truth. The parking lot light flickered on, harsh and bright and honest. I closed the laptop, packed my single bag, and prepared for morning, for the drive back to people who knew my worth, for the life I'd carved out of their negation. Mission complete, area secured, soldier intact. They'd given me one true thing after all: soldiers don't cry. We win. Thank you for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment and let's connect. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts about family, truth, and what it really means to stand your ground. Your own stories matter too, and I'd be honored to hear them.